So I think don't need to really go over the lyrics. Are pretty much clear as day. Um, he's off his tits.
Yeah, on on
Um,
on acid, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. John over there in black. I'm Andy in maroon, and we are here to discuss a tune. John, what do you have in store for us today?
The band is Can.
As I
Yes,
sleep
we
behind
can.
you.
And the track is Oh Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I always enjoy the eclectic sounds of Can and some of the stuff that they come up with. So I'm interested to see what's in store today. I can't imagine that this track comes in under 6 minutes, if I know Can. So I am. I made sure
It's
I'm
one
good
of
with
their
my
shorter
voice.
numbers.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
7+.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. In the world of Can, that is a ditty.
Yeah. You
So.
were going to get the one after it, which is 18. So, count your blessings and skedaddle quick.
Okay. Let me go off, give Oh Yeah a listen, and I'll come back and let you know what I think. That's a really interesting beginning. It sounded like a distant explosion and then like sort of this torrential rainfall that comes after it. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but that's what that's where I go when I hear that. That's really interesting. Let's take that back. Yeah. All right, percussions. Like backwards tracked vocals. There's all this kind of sound going on, which is really interesting. I know you often have that kind of in backwards tracked vocals anyway, that sort of sound that happens. But it's in the music as well. It's not just in the vocal track. So yeah, that's really, I mean, shouldn't be that surprised knowing the band and how they like to manipulate and toy with sounds. Um, but yeah, I can't help but think of is just an interesting way to or interesting sound to deploy in the song. Yeah, it's cool. I'm digging this. why this motif is taking me to like Eastern music, but it's like the twangs and the thrums of the strings here kind of, I don't know why, but are taking me to like India or perhaps the Middle East, somewhere in there. God, these guys are really interesting with how much they like to experiment with just sounds. Another explosion.
As a silver your hand stay there. Oh, your baby, banana there. I see your old cheek. Say that it's a kind
Faint
of
lead guitar work.
it's a sign. Really can't be soon. I'm passing. Nothing to do every day. Still like I never met since I was there.
I have no idea what he's saying. I don't even know if he's saying anything in an actual language, but it sounds good for some reason. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm also loving the guitar work as well. This sort of gritty, distorted, but not too in your face lead guitar stuff, and how it's commingling with his, I don't want to call it gibberish because I don't want to offend the actual language that it perhaps is in. I don't know if it is, but I love how they're working together. It sounds good to me, much to my surprise.
がまだ来ないの幸いなことに
Pick it up a little bit here. Yeah, that was another good one from Can. I really enjoyed that. I kind of liked how the more I listened to it, the more I could focus on like different aspects of it. Because once they get into a groove, it gets repetitive for a bit, and then they kind of like will change it. But they hang on to bits for a longer, which allows the listener to kind of like sink their teeth into it a bit more and savor what they're doing. And the percussions, and I don't want this to be taken in a pejorative manner, but like there's something primitive to how they were recorded and how they sound. It very much just sounds like an early recording device, just like placed around, hollow objects being struck, like at its base form, like the recording process for percussions. That's like what it sounded like. And I liked it. I don't know. It was like kind of like this back to basics kind of feeling. And that guitar work there for like the last like at least 2 minutes. I don't know. Certain times it sounded very precise, and at other times it was almost like a horsefly with ADHD on crystal meth, just flying all around. And it was really interesting and fun to listen to. And occasionally, like that sound that sounded like a distant gunshot or explosion that we heard at the beginning, and then again later in the song, and the all that kind of phasing sound early on, and it's just all really interesting and different, and not the norm when you're popping on like an album to listen to, and not a lot of artists are doing this. um and so it's always nice to check out what these guys have done in the past, and how much kind of fun they had coloring outside the lines, uh which is always it's a hit or miss thing, I hate to be that brave and bold with some of your choices, or just different, right? But I can imagine that there are songs by these guys that would um perhaps for me be a bridge too far in some aspects, but the few tracks that I've listened to by them or members of the band, it's all like well done experimentation that I've enjoyed thoroughly, even if it is different and kind of flies in the face of uh what is the normative. So this was another fun experience listening to Can. I'm glad that John has brought them back to the channel. And I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about this track. Most specifically, I look forward to when he goes over the lyrics of this one. I'm wondering if he is even going to brave that. Uh, because I've got questions. So hopefully he can clear that up and provide me some further insights about this track, maybe some other stuff about the band that we don't already know. The only way to do that is to get back to him, and I am looking forward to it.
Tits McGee, he's back. So, while you were off listening to Cam, I was doing crunching some numbers, and rather lovely, this appears to be our 500th episode.
Oh,
Um,
well.
and I think it's really quite suitable that we feature a band who are not only considered, one of the most innovative and, interesting and perhaps greatest bands, but also is a band which I had been meaning to listen to for decades. Sounds like a while, but many years. It's been, and it took a viewer's request, Mother Sky from Juan Kelly, that got me into Can, over a year ago, year and a half ago, something like that.
Hmm.
And now I've become a massive fan. So that just shows you what the channel's done for me.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, obviously, we did, I don't know how long ago it was. It feels like about 6, 8 months ago. Holger Tukai's Persian
Yeah.
Love, which is really good as well. Anyway, what do you make of it?
Um, I would have, first of all, would just want to agree with you. Like it's been great getting some exposure to bands that we had yet to hear that had been sort of on our list to check
Yeah.
out. And I also have become a fan of these guys. I haven't listened to as much of their stuff as you have. partly because I know that you got the record and that you wanted to shower me with some of the great sweet tunage off of it. But yeah, these guys are always at the very least a really interesting listen. So I always look forward to an opportunity to check them out. And this was another great example of that. I really enjoyed this tune for all of its weird quirks and,
Yeah.
eccentricities and all that stuff. So it was a fun listen. It opens oddly with this like the sound of like a distant explosion going
Can
on.
I just step in here and just
Yeah.
tell you, because you won't know otherwise, the track before this is called Mushroom, and that explosion segues from one track into the next, and the idea is a mushroom cloud.
Cloud, right. Yeah, that's interesting. And it helps make sense of this because it was hard for me to not instantly
What
envision.
the hell's going on?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
taken back to, watching Oppenheimer whenever it came out a couple of years ago and the whole test site and everything like that. So yeah, this explosion and then what sounded like a torrential rainfall right in the wake of that was like the next sound that came. Um and from this emerges this really interesting rhythmic music that slowly comes into focus, accompanied by what sounds like backward tracked vocals. Um, and there's a lot of this, not only in the vocal tracks, which you always get when they're like backwards tracked, but in the music itself, you get a lot of this, the kind of this like weird tracking sound that it almost sounds like it's phasing and stuff like that. And that was just caught my attention every time that I would hear it peppered in there. So yeah, a lot of intrigue going on. Very interesting soundscape they've got, and that they're building and manipulating. And it feels like the music is increasing in presence and volume, like walls closing in. Um, by the 230, or pardon me, the 240 something marker, I begin to pick up on like almost Eastern sounds. I don't know if I'm taken to like India or the Middle East, but there are certain twangs and thrums of an like interesting stringed instruments that lead me to this feeling. So interesting stuff going on there. I, expect nothing less from these guys. The 303 mark, we get this sound that's akin to a gunshot in the distance, and something cuts out, just leaving the resonance of that sound to carry on and fade out. And then, like nothing happened, that upbeat percussion work comes jogging back into frame with this distant electric guitar melody peppered in and over the vocals that accompany it. Now the guitar becomes more forward and we get this nice twangy lead for a bit. Again, this blossoms into more lead guitar work and the vocal and that the vocals sort of dancing with the lead guitar over the percussions, while every so often we get treated to these like resonant chord like strikes on the keyboard, I assume. Um,
Mm.
really interesting stuff. Sounds great. At 521, the rhythmic patterns switches and it sounds like it takes a more, I don't know, kind of like I don't want this to sound negative, but like a rudimentary or primitive sound quality to it. Like it has it's just the basic act of using an early form of recording to capture the sound of just sticks striking hollow objects. It's very little balance of sound or polishing was being employed here, and I kind of like that. It's kind of like this back to basics kind of sound, and I really appreciated that.
Well, it's almost tribal, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And if recording was a function that was available during when tribal music was at its peak, whatever that was, this is what it sounded like, that rudimentary recording mechanism with that primitive style drum work. It was just really cool. Um, Also during this part, the guitar seemingly takes its cue from the sound of the percussions as it manically flies about the soundscape like a musically gifted horsefly with ADHD and a crystal meth problem. There was just all of this weird flightiness to it that all worked though. And things somehow work though and become more cohesive as it progresses, and we get treated to a second guitar joining the mix, and it really enhances the sound as they both kind of work in harmony to create this soaring sound before eventually hitting a peak at the 7:10 mark. And then at the 7:11 mark, everything dies down to a near hush as those percussions faintly carry us as if walking out of frame. Now, this was a lot of fun, and its lack of strict blueprint is what made it so much fun. I think this is part of the band's charm. They seem to take it they seem to make it a point to color outside the regimented, almost dogmatic lines for musical composition and construction. And I respect and appreciate that willingness to not only buck the rules, but also the ability to do it successfully without sounding too ramshackle
Yeah.
or to a point where it becomes absurdist. They don't take it to that degree, but they flirt with it, and they kind of give the bird to those who gatekeep and say that this is too far or whatever. I love it. I love that they do that. And when the finished product sounds like this and it's digestible and interesting and it's got all these different moving parts that keeps it fresh and different as the song goes by, I can understand how they can have 18-minute songs that are worth listening to, because you're not listening to an 18-minute song, you're listening to 18 minutes of music. And there's sort of,
Ideas. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Musical ideas, like cobbled together, but done so in a way that isn't jarring. So yeah, I really enjoyed this listen. This is another really great tune by Can. I've listened to a few now at this point, and it's like it doesn't. I wouldn't say that it exceeds what I've listened to previously, but it doesn't come in below that either. It's just on par for their specific kind of greatness.
Yeah. Yeah, and the greatness, particularly from this album, because other albums sound slightly different, but still have, they have this, the way they stretch the boundaries. So they're always doing stuff that's new and interesting, but sometimes it sounds more avant-garde than others.
Yes.
Anyway, this is the third track from their second studio album. I've never heard anyone actually say this out loud, so I always say it's like Tego Mago, but it could be Targo Margo for all I know.
Yeah.
1971. So I remember previously with you gave me Mother Sky from a viewer's request, which was from their soundtracks album before, which had Damo Suzuki on vocals, but this is the first full studio album with Damo singing on it.
Yeah,
So
and just really quickly, like I laughed about it a little bit in my reaction. Like I can't wait to see how John tackles these lyrics when we get to them. And I know that we're not there yet, but
I got them all.
You got them all? Okay, great. Um is this another language? I know the backwards track stuff is backward track stuff, but even then, what is it? What is that a backward track of? What language, or is it just like, dare I say, gibberish or something like that?
I would say that the backwards track, I've got the forwards translation of it.
Okay.
The second verse, which he sings straight, is a truncated version of that backwards track. Then the third version is his musings in Japanese.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't picking up on anything at all.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I thought it was pretty straightforward, but
Sure you did, John.
I have come to love his lyrics and his vocals. I mean, they're just, and I actually can hear other people, the way they've copied his delivery, if not his tone.
Yeah.
Someone like, for instance, Shawn Ryder sometimes sounds, who do things in the same way as Damo Suzuki. Even Ian Brown as well, So that sort of late 80s, early 90s period that I love so much. You can hear Canon so much more now, which I never knew until I started listening to Canon. But yeah, so it's great for me. Anyway, personnel on this: Damo Suzuki vocals, Olga Tutsai on bass guitar, more importantly, probably engineering and editing. Michael Caroni, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, violin. The wonderful Jackie Liebeseitz on drums. This is for the album, sorry. Also double bass and piano. And Herman Schmidt, Pfefferser organ, electric piano, electronics, and vocals. So this is recorded at Schloss Norvenich, Sadly, not Slosh Adler, but anyway, which is a medieval castle near Cologne. The album features long form this is all shocking to hear, I get, but long form experimental tracks blending rock and jazz improvisation, funk rhythms, and musique concrète, which is a musical term meaning raw sounds modified to form a collage, which obviously Holger did very well. And tape editing techniques. Again, 1971, pretty much at the forefront of this sort of stuff. So, Tagamago has been described as Cannes' best and most extreme record in sound and structure. The album has received widespread critical acclaim and is cited as an influence by various artists. AllMusic called it not merely one of the best krautrock albums of all time, but one of the best albums ever, period. Recording took 3 months to complete, with sessions often lasting up to 16 hours a day.
That's how you crank out such a huge I mean, there's a lot of music on this album as far as time are concerned. So to knock it out in 3 months is wildly impressive. But yeah, if you're doing 16-hour days, that's one way to do it.
You've got to be a proper band to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So what they would do is Holger would edit the bands really long, disorganized jam sessions into structured songs. He only used a 2-track tape recorder to capture the sessions. And quite often the group would actually play in the castle's entrance hall to get the natural reverb. Okay. And he only had 3 microphones.
Yeah.
Which was shared between Suzuki, Leibowitz, and the rest of the band to optimize their response, which is really, again, interesting. He also secretly recorded them when they didn't know about it, jamming and in pre-production sessions, capturing conversations, shouts of a child, the howling of the castle owner's dog, and all of this was whacked in as well, as you can imagine. Oh, brilliant. So, according to Tukai, the album was named after Illa de Tegamago, an islet near Ibiza. The album took influences from Miles Davis, Karlheinz Stockhausen, and English occultist Aleister Crowley. Tukai described the album as an attempt in achieving a mystery musical world from light to darkness and return. Blah, blah, blah. The group has referred to the album as their magic record, and the music has been described as having an air of mystery and forbidden secrets. All that bullshit. Apparently, there's some connection between Crowley and the island as well. So, whatever. He was a massive shyster, but
yeah, of course.
The album has a Metacritic score of 99 out of 100.
Jesus Christ.
So there you go. Drowned in Sound said, really though, you can only appreciate the full genius of this record by listening to the music that followed it. Listen to Bowie's Berlin trilogy, to post-punk pioneers such as The Fall, Joy Division, or Bauhaus, to the lo-fi alt rock of the 90s, or to the dissonant trickery of Kid A era Radiohead. Their sonic wizardry, their swirling discordant drones and unsettling vocals can all be traced back to the krautrock movement that Tego Mago spearheaded. And Julian Cope, who we've spoken about many times before, is a massive krautrock aficionado, and he's written a big opus to krautrock called Krautrock Sampler, and in it he said that Tego Mago sounds only like itself, like no one before or after, and described the lyrics as delving below into the unconscious. So he bought all the Crowley bullshit as well, apparently. So, speaking of the lyrics, let's get to them. So I have got the backwards forwards. I have got the Japanese and English. So here we go. Explosion. Backwards vocals. You don't need to go, you show. On the bed with a lie. Like a floating cloud every time that visits a lie. Thus we spend the time in time. In a trash box for your fire. Think I'll take it if you want to. On your time, you're so sad. As your silver hair hat, save that. For you got to better, not there. I see your own cheek. I see your own cheeks, save that. It's a time you're my last sign. Here they come to soothe the passing, as you do too every day. Still you point at them and then, seems like I'm asleep. Mini explosion. Verse 2. As your silver hair, save that, for you got to better, not there. I see your own cheeks, saves that. It's a time you're my lasting sign. They have got to soothe the passing, as you do too every day. Still you point at them and then, sometimes I'm a slave. Then we get the second jam bit, with that very 60 sounding guitar, as you say, that goes into this sort of Middle Eastern kind of guitar. So third verse, Japanese lyrics, and a lot of the places have actually been really cheeky and posted the Japanese symbols, which is a lot of fucking fun for someone trying to do in this episode. However, in one of the sites, there is a contributor called Hanakara Choching, and he has written this. I am Japanese and a huge fan of can, and you know they're a huge fan when they spell can with all caps. The Japanese lyrics in this song is, I'm going to read it as he's written it, is hard to distinguish / understand even for a Japanese, because Damo's voice is indistinct and the grammar is unusual, but I try. So I've got the Japanese and I've got the English. Here goes.
Damn you, Anakara. Why'd you have to do this?
Hitori de Soko ni Sutawataru, which means the man who is sitting out there by himself. Atama no Ikareta Yatsu is crazy. Niji no Iu Kara Shoben takes a piss from above a rainbow. Wararara Gahimo to Yobo, we call him our pimp. LSD no Machikara, he left the town of LSD. Hanere Gaki wo Osor, he was scared of bad kids. Asaga Mada Kanai no wo, there is still time before the morning. Sawai no Koto ni, fortunately. And he puts underneath, as you see, the meaning is ambiguous, as with the English part. Fuck me. I don't know if that was worth it or not, but I'm amazed that you've got, 6 words donates a whole sentence, and then another 5 words is crazy. Fortunately. So yeah, very interesting. But so I think I don't need to really go over the lyrics, they're pretty much clear as day. He's off his tits.
Yeah, on acid, it sounds like.
Yeah. So anyway, this track can be interpreted as making to do with who and what you have in the wake of an apocalypse, or more generally, in difficult times if you don't have an apocalypse to hand. Various artists have cited Tegamago as an influence on their work. Very famously, John Lydon of Sex Pistols and Public Image Limited called it stunning in his autobiography. Bobby Gillespie of, firstly, Primal Scream and also Jesus and Mary Chain said of the album, this music was like nothing I'd ever heard before. Not American, not rock and roll, but mysterious and European. Mark Hollis of Talk Talk called Tegamago's an extremely important album and was the inspiration for their final album, Laughingstock. Mark Boland of T-Rex listed as Suzuki's freeform lyricism as an inspiration, and Johnny Greenwood and Tom York of Radiohead have both cited the album as an early influence. The Fall recorded the track I Am Damo Suzuki based on the Tegamago track Oh Yeah, for their 1985 album, This Nation's Saving Grace, and it is a great track. And also, Tegamago is listed in a certain book called 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die.
Were you able to get your hands on this book, John?
It just so happens that it arrived by courier moments earlier. And there is Deborah. I'll tell you what, I had a quick look. There's Cam. There we go. 1971 is a hell of a fucking year. I will briefly, because I like to go back and forwards a few lines, but Jethro Tull, Aqualung, if you like that sort of thing, it's considered amazing. Sly and the Family Stone, there's a riot going on. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? The Who, Who's Next? Carole King, Tapestry, which is an amazing song. Isaac Hayes, Shaft. The Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. I mean, oh,
Mhm.
fucking hell. Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers, if you like that sort of shit. John Lennon, Imagine. Beach Boys, Surfs Up. The Doors, LA Woman.
Wow.
Um, Don McLean, American Pie. Dolly Parton's Coat Many Colors. Led Zeppelin 4. um, Surge Against Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Oh, Leonard Cohen, Songs of Love and Hate. Joni Mitchell, Blue. I mean, Janis Joplin, Pearl. Funkadelic, Maggot Brain. Faces, Not as Good as a Wink to a Blind Horse. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Harry Nilsson Smilson. T-Rex, Electric Warrior. And finally, David Bowie, Hunky Dory.
Wow.
What a time to be alive if
Yeah.
you're about a year and a bit old as I was. Wow. It's one of the best years I've seen in that book, just like flicking amazing. And this rightly sits amongst them as a great, great album, great track.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Cam for you.
Well, thank you for
I've got
sharing.
another one lined up from a different album. Oh, a couple actually. Yeah, so we'll get to that anon.
Wait,
But
now
I'll
you
wrap
say
things up.
you say another album. I'm assuming one that comes out. I mean, because we've listened to the one that preceded a track off the one that preceded this. We've listened to this or a track that represents it.
Yeah,
Where do
oh
we go
God.
from here?
Is it Down to the Lake I Fear? Sorry, couldn't help myself. Cave, can,
This guy.
cave, hash, cars. Fucking hell, I should have got myself organised. Oh, here we go. There we go. So yeah, that's the one with Mother Sky on,
Mhm.
which is the collection. This one, and then we got the very wonderful Eggy Bamyasi. Easy for you to say. Future Days, which are fantastic as well. And Sinova Bambal Luma. Sorry, very shiny. So yeah, we've got a few to pick from that I've got on
Okay.
vinyl, and there's some others as well. But yeah, there's plenty in there to be going on with. Cool. I'll wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this, Andy. I will say this. Sorry, I forgot to say. The drumming on all can stuff is amazing. But when you play people tracks, quite often, especially like the geeky people you know, and if they've imbibed or whatever, um, people are quite apt to do things like air guitar and stuff to really cool songs. Um, and you play someone who's just drinking a cup of tea, a can track, they will eventually, in some form or other, if it's just tapping their leg, they will do egg drumming to
Yeah.
the track. It just, you can't help it because he's so metronomic. It's not the most flashiest stuff. There are some tracks with just some really interesting rhythms, but most of the time it's just always there.
Yeah.
And it becomes like ingrained. And yeah.
Yeah, and this track was no different in that regard.
Yeah,
It was definitely very
and there's
percussive.
bits where it just it comes like you feel like almost there's almost some funk underneath this just trying to get through, and he's leading the charge, as it were, without doing anything different than he was doing a minute or two ago. But it just seems that way. So there you go. Cool. All right. Thanks for listening to this, Andy. Folks like that, tell us what you think. I'm sure there is definitely some Can fans from people who view regularly on the channel. So please tell us about this track, this album, this band, other stuff. I say I've probably got 3 or 4 tracks lined up from albums I just flashed. But tell us what you think. Love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And you too will have exclusive access to all 500 episodes along with everybody else. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. And we couldn't have done, well, we could, just no one will watch them. But,
We're just above that anyway.
yeah. So we got a few watching it instead. But no, we really appreciate everybody who does. So thanks a bunch to everybody who's watched all 500. What do you mean you haven't watched all 500? Shame on you. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.